Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am going to be updating you guys on Algorand's price and why I think we're seeing some unbelievably bullish signs for Algorand that's hinting at what's to come. We're also going to be introducing once again our phase analysis and where Algorand finds itself in this saga. Before we dive into all of that and we show you charts that were where Algorand is today, that went on and really excelled into a bull market, which is what we're expecting for Algorand, I just want to give you guys a quick heads up. We managed to get Stacey Warden, the CEO of the Algorand Foundation, on the show for an interview. And I can honestly say it's one of the best interviews that I've done today. I absolutely loved having Stacey on the show. And we talk about Algorand fundamentally, some of the changes that are happening in 2025. And actually, one thing that we really highlight throughout the interview is just how impactful Algorand truly is. We cover multiple different sectors: healthcare to e-commerce to finance to DeFi to AI, and we show examples, obviously real world assets, stable coins. We show examples of how Algorand, or Stacey certainly showed examples of how Algorand is actually fundamentally changing many sectors out there, ultimately through leveraging Algorand's technology. And this is the way the world is going, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimately, people are going to adopt cryptocurrencies for the same reason that people sell things online, because there is a broader audience to it. It ultimately makes things more efficient, largely from start to finish and global. And that's why we think Algorand, or one of the reasons certainly we think Algorand is going to do spectacularly from a fundamental point of view. Now, before we proceed into some charts, I just want to re-highlight how we like to look at the markets, and we'll relate this to Algorand and what that means. So we like to break the markets down into 4 phases. Markets will typically move in this wave-like fashion. Those of you that have studied Wyckoff's accumulation and distribution schematics may or may not be familiar with the fact that actually these 2 schematics were part of a broader cycle for markets: your accumulative phase, your uptrend or markup as he called it, your distribution phase, and your markdown or downtrend as he called it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we like to look at the markets through this lens of 4 phases. If you've seen the Wall Street cheat sheet, that just maps out the emotions that go with these phases. Ultimately, when we look at Algorand, it's in a prime position for some pretty monumental upside. Let's take a look at a quick example of these 4 phases playing out. And actually, we were able to predict an uptrend for Spotify, and those of you that have been following me for long enough will know this, based on this phase analysis. So Spotify here was in a phase 1. There was an inverse head and shoulders. That ultimately gave us further confluence. Once we had broken out of our phase 1 base, we had a technical pattern taking us to the upside. And also we understand the markets from this phase analysis point of view and what's likely to come next, being an uptrend, a markup, etc., etc., etc. And of course, you can see that's very much been the case for the likes of Spotify. And don't worry, guys, we're going to come on to where Algorand is today. What phase is it in? Well, no spoilers here, or spoilers here. We'll tell you right away, this is in a phase 2. And actually, very commonly, once you break out of your phase 1 base, which also happens to be a double bottom pattern, giving you confidence that Algorand's going towards that $1 range, once you break out of it, it's very common you get a retest before continuation. We're going to show you 3 very clear examples of charts that did exactly what Algorand's doing today and went on and proceeded in phase 2. Obviously, we've got Vanex Semiconductors. You can see this is one that we've had huge success for, and we think this is actually going higher. There's a concession of technical patterns here. Phase 1 base, basing period. We'll put a 30 weekly moving average on. And then, of course, you break out of this, you enter phase 2. And there was technical patterns that ultimately took you to the upside. So where is Algorand today? Well, as you can see clearly demonstrated on the charts, Algorand for us is very clearly in phase 2. Now, this was your phase 1 base. We'll go ahead and put the 30 weekly moving average on. You're consolidating in and around your 30 weekly moving average. When you're in an uptrend, you're above it. When you're in a sort of sideways trend, whether that's phase 1 or 3, you're sort of chopping in and around it. And then obviously in a downtrend, you're pinned below it, like you can see in this previous downtrend. But Algorand's at a state now where it's actually broken out, in my opinion, of its phase 1 base, which also couples up as a double bottom, taking you to 99 cents, just shy of $1. It broke out of this on volume. Now, volume is very important because volume is ultimately essentially conviction in a move. People use these methods, big Wall Street traders and investors use these methods just like I do, institutional firms, to ultimately dictate what stage of a market something is in. When something breaks out, you typically expect continuation. Certainly if that breakout is on volume. And we always say it's very common once you get a breakout that you actually follow that up with a retest and then a bounce off it, really confirming the phase that you're in, which is phase 2. So this volume here is absolutely important. It shows conviction behind the move. On the pullback that we've subsequently seen for Algorand, taking it perfectly, coincidentally some may say, to its neckline of this double bottom, you can ultimately see the volume declining on this. You're going to get a resurge in volume. I think that's going to come in the coming weeks. I think actually the run up to May is going to be pretty spectacular. So from a sort of phase analysis point of view, Algorand is really in the hot seat. It's in the driving seat, if you will, and ultimately we're expecting continuation. Show you a couple of examples. This is the New York Times. I actually think New York Times is going to do really well because there's a big macro pattern going back to like 2008 that this is potentially forming. But you can see phase 3 into phase 4 into phase 1, and look what you have here. You also have a double bottom. You break out of this into phase 2. What do? You retest before phase 2, which is an uptrend, continues. What is Algorand doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Phase 1 base, breakout, retest, and then we have what the New York Times has shown us, continuation to come. Let's show you another example. This is Samsara, who are cleverly named IoT. See, double bottom, breakout, retest, continuation. This is coming for Algorand, guys. Don't worry. This is coming for Algorand. This is in line with the broader space and the trajectory that we have for it. We also think the broader space is going to do rather well. And Samsara very much showing you, giving you that insight and crystal ball into what's to come for the likes of Algo, which is one of the most impressive layer 1 blockchains that there is. And actually do take the time. When that Stacey Warden interview comes out, take the time to watch it. It's just under an hour long. But the insight that you're going to gain from that is, I mean, you can't watch that video and not go, that's really interesting. Algorand's changing through the utilization of a distributed ledger technology, all of these industries for the better, whether that's healthcare, supply chains, finance. Finance is, of course, the big one that we all talk about, but there's many other sectors that Algorand, or many other pies, I should say, that Algorand has its fingers in. Let's show you another example, because some people still might not be convinced yet. Let's show you Alchemy Technologies. Again, what do we have here? Double bottom. And then you get the breakout, bit of consolidation before continuation. That double bottom target ultimately gets met. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what's to come for Algorand. Ultimately, it's sort of skimming a lot across the lows. Once the space reasserts, you're really going to see Algorand come into the full-blown phase 2. And ultimately, that's going to take it, I think, to new all-time highs and above and beyond. That's my honest prediction on Algorand. I don't know how high it's going to go. We've certainly got a technical target taking you to just shy of $1. I think it's going to be multiple dollars by the end of this. I don't think Algorand's going to miss out as certainly one of the ISO coins on this bull market that's to come. It's by no means my largest position at all. Obviously on a stake pool, so we'll have a stake node, so we need 30,000 algo for that. So we've done that, obviously, thankfully, before the pump, but there's going to be a lot of people that are also want to get in on that action and ultimately might still be a little bit late to the party and having waited for that sort of bargain price to actually start to enter the staking arena. So we think Algorand, and we don't want to focus too much on short-term patterns. There's not really much going on the smaller time frames. Obviously, you can see how you just sort of, you bounced off this and you're now just consolidating. I think this consolidation leads to a push, certainly to your dollar range, and then potentially above and beyond. And from a macro perspective, given how we like to look at the markets through looking at them through the phases, I've shown you a couple of examples. I could literally show you hundreds. Excuse me. And actually, we do this. I do it with my Patreons regularly. I also do it quite often on YouTube, where we sort of look at phase analysis and the sort of pudding of it, the proof of it, to really sort of cement that this works. And when we apply that to Algorand, we've got a phase 2 uptrend, a very bullish phase 2 uptrend ahead of us, in my opinion. But it is just my opinion. Do not take this as financial advice. We've stated the reasons why. We've shown you plenty of examples. Ultimately, I think you algo holders out there have a great time ahead of you. Fundamentally, there's lots of interesting things coming with governance, with the algo kit, which is going to make it really easy for people to build on top of Algorand. And of course, staking. Who doesn't like some passive rewards for holding cryptocurrencies? And actually, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to buy algo to essentially bootstrap or get exposure to the bootstrapping that's taking place with the foundation kind of incentivizing node operation through giving extra rewards. And once staking is live, we'll talk you through how to do it. We'll even show you a node set up as somebody that's already got a couple of nodes working. Ladies and gentlemen, that is really it from me. We just want to give you a short and sweet update on Algorand's price. Lots of people asking me about it. I know we've got many Algo fans out there. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you all in the next one.